Hi friends, welcome back to Advanced PHP tutorial. So in this series we already discussed about many things and we have discussed about each and every topics, and I promised I will create a CRUD and I will show you a real life application how this is working with Advanced PHP. In this video we're going to create how to create user list, how to add user, and how to edit and how to delete. So let's start. So before doing these things we have already created the template. So whatever we are seeing in this list, that is the John Doe, David, Roberts, whatever we are displaying, basically this is the hard-coded things, but we have changed some little things inside this template. I am adding the header.php. So what is inside the header.php? So inside the header.php we have just started the HTML tag and I am closing in the next index.php. Okay, so we are just writing in header.php the body section, and we included the style section and the title sections. Okay, also in this section we have the home and add user link. So this is the home and add user link. Okay, so in this way when you're going to add any user, so here we can see the add.php. so if you just go to the add.php, we can see same, we are calling the header.php, and after that the add user from. Okay, so first name, last name, email, phone, and the button to save. Okay, so we can see this, and we have already the edit.php. so currently it is not dynamic, it's not populating the value of respective data, but we will make it dynamic with the help of advanced PHP. So all the pages are basically ready, which all are in HTML, but I am adding the .php to support the PHP tag, and we will just make it dynamic with the help of advanced PHP. So when we will have a concept of advanced PHP, we need to create a class and object. Okay, so first we need to create a database class. So whenever we will getting the list, we are getting the list from the database. When we are going to edit these things, when we are going to delete these things, all we need the database. So first create a database for your application. Okay, so just go to the localhost phpMyAdmin. So this is my database and I'm going to create a database. The database name is suppose advanced PHP CRUD. So what is basically CRUD? CRUD is simply create, read, update and delete. Okay, so here we will discuss about how to create, how to read, how to update and how to delete the database. So basically if you look into this, we can see we are getting the list, and if we're going to add these things, so we will create a new user in your table, and if we're going to edit these things, so basically the user data will populate, and when you click on add save, so basically it will update. And if you're going to delete, so this is the delete. So this is the full life cycle of CRUD. Okay, so create, read, update and delete. So let's don't waste any time, so just create a class, that is database.php. So here I am just going to create a folder. I want each and every class file will have a separate folder, that is suppose my folder name is class. So inside the class folder we will have all the class. We will just create a new PHP file, that is database.php. okay, so this is the class name. So here we will create a class. So just remove this and create a class. Suppose the class name is db. Okay, and here I will create some common things which you need to connect database. So like database host name, database name, username, password. So here we will create some common variable which will need to enter into our database. So first we'll create a variable, that is db host. So I am writing in the block letter. Basically this is the class file of database. You can write in small letter also, but I am declaring the database host as a capital letter. So in the same way, write public db name and public db user, public db password. Okay, sorry, db password. So these four things we need to connect with database. Okay, and we'll create a function to connect the database, and basically when we need to connect with the database we will call this function. So create a function that is public function and write db connect. So db connect is a function to connect with the database. So to connect, write MySQLi connect. Okay, and we'll pass the parameter to connect. So this is the class property db host, db name, username and password. So just pass these four things to the MySQLi connect function. So to access the class property we need to use this db host and to write $this db name and $this db user, and finally write $this db password. Okay, so these four things we need to connect with the database. And to connect with database I am creating a variable that is connection. So I am just writing connection as the class property. So write con and write here public. So con is a public property, so we can access this connection with this con, and here we will check if the database is connected or not. So we will write if this con, that means the connection is true. So if the connection is true we will do something, otherwise we will just return connection is not proper. So right here if the connection is not true then write a error message, return the database connection error, that is database connection error. Okay, and next if the all is set means successfully connected with your database. So right here MySQLi select db. So here we will need to pass two parameter along with this. So just pass the connection string. So write this con and we will pass the database name. So write this db name. Okay, and we need to call the dbconnect method when we call the database.php. So when we need to connect the database we will just create an object of database and I want to call the db connection. So by default we know that if we use any constructor and inside the constructor if we call this connection function we will call this automatically when you create object. So write a constructor function for this. So write the public function construct. So write here public function and construct. Okay, so construct function will call automatically when you create the object. So assign the property value from the constructor. So just write this db host equal to something. So we will pass the value from externally. So how we'll pass we'll let you know, and write the db name. So db name, so write here blank for now and write this db user. So basically this is the username to connect with the database, and write this db password. Okay, so all the values set. This that is connection is null. So if we not pass any connection string, by default the connection is null. And one thing I need in database, so we need a query. So here I am writing the public $SQL. So SQL is the property, and inside this property we will pass the SQL. So here I also write this SQL is blank. Okay, and finally we will call the dbConnect method to connection with the database. So write this db connection. So if we want to call the method, we need to use the dbConnect. So this is very simple object oriented concept, and we need these four things to connect with database. So how we will pass this? So we will create another file and we'll define all those things. Okay, so just create a new php file. Suppose write config.php. so we will manage all the configuration part from this config.php file. So when we need to change anything, we will never change from the database class. We will just pass this value from the configuration. So define all the property, right? Define, and the first part will define, that is the db host. So right here db host, and we'll pass the value. So for now it is blank. We'll create all those things. So I'm just creating the variable, that is db host, db name, db user, and db password. Okay, so here is my database name is the advanced php CRUD. So just copy. So the db name is advanced php CRUD, and db host I am creating in locally. So right here localhost, and username is root, and my password also root. So I am setting the value inside this. So we'll get these things in the db host. So right here db host, and for database name, so right here db name, and for database user, so right here database user, that is db user, and for password just write db password. Okay, so we'll get all the four variable to connect with database. We'll get from the configuration file. So how we'll get, I will show you. So our connection section is ready. So how to pass this value? So we are getting the db host username password from the config file, but we need this SQL as per our requirement. Sorry, the SQL will be in caps. Okay, so right here SQL, so this will be the same as this. So $SQL is the property, and we will use this property inside the constructor. Okay, so how to set the query? So create another function. So first we'll public function. Suppose my function name is set query. So we can easily remember these things. To set the query, we will need set query, and we will receive a argument through the set query method. So here we will create a parameter, that is query. Okay, and basically we will set the query using this. So write this SQL equal to the query. Okay, So we are getting all those things. So we are getting the query, we are getting the host name, username, password. So now we need to execute the query. So create another function to execute the query. So write public function and the function name is execute. Okay, so I am setting execute as a function name. You can write your own name. So here we will write, first we will check the condition. If the SQL is false, means if the $this SQL equal to blank, so if the blank will not run the query to the database. So here just simply return false, so we cannot execute further. And then if the SQL query is not blank, so initially you can see when we are defining in constructor, we are defining that as blank. So if I get any value inside this SQL value, we will only process that thing. So right here MySQLi query and here simply we will pass this connection and this query. So this SQL, okay. So I am taking these things into the variable that is suppose result, okay. And if the result is false, that means if we not get any result from this, so just write result equal to I am using the 3 equal to, that means we will check the value also the data type. Okay, so if it is false, then the query is not right or something problem. So write this SQL equal to blank, that means I am denying these things, okay. And simply return a error message. So right here return query is not proper, okay. And otherwise we'll return the MySQLi affected rows. And in the argument just pass this connection. So okay, so we need this connection every section. That's the reason I am setting this dot connection is null and as a property of the DB. Also if the query is true, then also we need to make it blank. So instead of writing inside the false condition, we just write it here. So we will get this SQL equal to blank for every execution of this. And here you can see we are getting the list. So we will just create a select function to select all the data. Basically I want to make ready our database class, and after that we will do all the operation easily. So our query connection is ready and our execution is ready. So we will just call the execution function to execute any query, and I will create a function to fetch all the rows, and I will create a function to fetch the individual rows. So we will need another two functions to make our database classes ready. One is select, and I will create another for individual record. So public function select, and I will create another function that is public function suppose select 1, because I will call this function where we are going to edit these things. So why we'll need, I will just explain you. Okay, so basically when we use this select function, we will get all the records in array format, but for a single record we need just exactly one thing. So we don't need multi-dimensional array. So just write inside the select. So first we'll copy these things. So basically our functions is ready, we'll just changing the return statement. So here write all the things. So if the SQL is blank, will return false, and MySQL query will need to send. And if the query is not proper, I will just simply return the query is not proper. So now we need one things. I am creating a variable that is records. So here we will get all the records. So initially I am declaring the records as an array. So now we will create a records array with the data. So how we can do this? So just write a while loop, okay, and inside the while loop we will create this, okay. So inside the while loop just write $row equal to MySQLi fetch array. MySQLi fetch array. So inside the MySQL fetch array we need to write the result. So here is the result and I want to write the result type. So basically my result type is MySQLi assoc. Okay, so we'll get each and every record inside this row and we will store this record inside the records variable. Okay, so just assigns the records as an array and just add into this, and finally we will return the records. Okay, so right here records. So same way we will create the select one method. So just copy here and pass this, and we don't need to write the while statement. So just remove this and here write $row equal to MySQLi fetch assoc. Okay, and here we will pass the $result. So basically this is the $result I am passing, and we need to return this row. Okay, so basic database functions are ready. So this is the database class. So when we will need any database operation, we will just call this database class and we will create object and we will connect and we'll call each function. So my database class is basically ready. Okay, so if we need anything, so we'll add later, but this is the common things we need to add for your application. Okay, so now go to the other parts. So here already created the list. So how we'll fetch the records? So first we need to include the database and config in your files in the common file so that we can access these files from all the pages. So here you can see we are calling the header.php. Inside the add.php we are calling the header.php. So if we add database.php and config.php in header file, so we can call this easily. So just include these two things. So just include this. So with the top section I am including a PHP tag, and inside the PHP tag we will just including these two files, that is include once, and here we need to provide the path. So the class and database.php. okay, so inside the inverted comma, so write class and database.php, and we need to call another file, that is class and config.php. So we included both files, that is database.php and config.php, but here is a problem. There is a sequence manner, because inside the database.php we need database host, database name, username, password, and we are passing these four things from this. So there is a sequence problem. So first we need to initialize these things so that we can get access of these four variables from this database.php. So first include the config.php and then include the database.php. okay, so we can add the database host name, username, password inside the database class also, but why we will need the config.php? Basically the class file always be secure and should be neat and clean, and if we add the config.php, so whenever our application is running and we are changing any things into the database side, we will just change the config file. We will not go to the class file to change this. Okay, so that is the reason, and we can add another things inside the config.php for our site, for our application. and I need to create a object of database.php. So here I am creating $objdb. So basically database object. So write $objdb and call the db class. Okay, so this is the class name db. So here you can see. So whenever we will need to call any function, we need to use this objdb to call the function. So just go to the index page and let's make it dynamic. So before that I am adding some value. So this is the advanced PHP CRUD, that is database. I am going to create a users table. So right here users, and here I will add some fields like first name, last name, email, phone, that is 4, and we need to add the id, that is 5, and I need to add a edit date, that is by default we will add the current timestamp, but it is good practice always use the edit date so that we can understand when the value is added. So we need these 6 columns. Okay, so right here id, and then first name, then last name, and email, phone. Okay, so write email and phone. Okay, and added date. Okay, so added date is the date time field. Okay, and by default I am setting added date is current timestamp, so we don't need to think about these things. So whenever a new record inserted into your database, we will add this current timestamp automatically. So now we will setting the id, suppose 10, and it is the auto increment, also the primary key, and here writing the varchar. So all are varchar, so first name, last name, email, and I'm also providing the varchar so that if anyone wants to say it as any formatted value, that can be acceptable. You can add your own format or your own validation, but for now I am adding all our 255 and varchar. Okay, and I am providing these things as null. So basically this is the database related error handling. So if someone wants to send this null value, database will not show any error, it will enter the database as a null. So just click on the save. So our database is ready with a 6 field. So next we will insert some data into this table and we will fetch. Okay, so now insert some record. So just like this, that is John, and title is Joy, and email is john@yahoo.com. So basically write it here, and phone is write phone. Okay, and it's current timestamp, so I am adding another records, that is David Roberts. So go to insert again, so David Roberts, and insert his email id, that is david@yahoo.com, and write the phone number. Okay, and I am creating another, that is Alberto Greek, and this is the email, that is email, and this is phone number. Okay, the 3 records are added into this database. So basically these 3 things I have inserted using the database insert option. So basically this is the hard coded, and now inside this list we will fetch the list and will show, and after that we will use the add user option to add some records. Just fetch this record from this database section. So just go to the index.php. So here we are getting this section and we are getting the header.php. So now we can understand in the header.php we have already included object db. So this is the object of the database class. So just use this inside the index file. Okay, so just create a PHP tag inside here and write a query. So write sql equal to, suppose write select star from the table name. So basically my table name is the users, so select star from users, and we will use $objdb and use this method to set the query into the database. So write the set query, okay, and we'll pass this query using the set query. So write $sql, so query is sent to database and we'll fetch the record. So how we'll fetch? So objdb and the select, so basically we will use the select to get the multiple record. So basically the config section will setting the all database related credential, and then we are setting the query and calling the select method. So setting the query, so I am passing the $sql and we'll call the set query. So this sql, so query is set. So now if you want to call the select method, so this sql is not blank and we already created the connection, that is the this.con. So we'll get also the connection also, so from the db connect. So when you creating any object, the db connection is calling, okay, so we all the getting. So now I am setting these things into the result, okay, so right here $result. So inside this result we'll get all the records. So just check whether we'll getting or not. So as it is the array format, so right here print r, okay, $result. So now refresh this. So here we can see the error, that is access denied database 24. So just go to there, here database 24, database host, database name. Sorry, the database name should not provide to MySQL connection section. So just go to the browser and refresh. So we are getting the records, that is array 0, the id name. So we are getting all the records. So now go to the index file and write a loop, that is I am creating another PHP tag, that is for each $result as $res. I am taking the short form, so $res, and here just closing the PHP tag, this, okay. So I don't need to write others tier tag, so I am just removing this section. And if we now check this, and before that I am just closing the printer section, and now check this. So we are getting the John Doe because we are getting the loop, but we have no dynamic the value, so we need to pass the dynamic value, okay. So for serial number, just want to declare a variable from 1, suppose $i equal to 1, and I need to increment this value before the loop ends. So write $i plus plus, and if you write the $i from the serial section, though it will increment as the loop will execute, okay. So $php and echo $i, and we are getting the value of first name from $res. So right here php and echo $res, and we are getting inside the first name, and the same way just copy. So this will be the last name, this will be the email, and this will be the phone. So just change the column name, so last name, and next what happened, so email, okay, and then phone, okay. So all are ready. So now refresh this, we'll get the record from this section. So this is the database, and we are getting all the list from the database in dynamical way using the object oriented concept. So this is our database class, and using this class we are getting all the records. Okay, so now we need to create the add features. Okay, so just click on the add user, and when we will click on the save, so basically it will insert a new record into this. So how we can do this? So just go to the add.php. so here all the section is ready. So basically we are using the add. So here I am creating the action, that is save.php, but we have not created this section. So just create a file, that is save.php. okay, so we will create all the add, edit, delete operation from this section. So now we can see the save.php not need the header.php, so we need to include this section from the save.php also, so that we can get access of these things. And here in the add.php we are using the post method, and the value of submit is submit. So now we'll add a logic: if $post submit equal to submit. So if $post submit value is submit, then we will add these things. So just write a insert query. So write insert query. Okay, so using this query we will insert the records. Okay, so write here insert into the table name, that is users, and write here set. So what we will set? So the first name equal to first name. So we need to concat the PHP variable, that is first name. So before that, just initialize these variables which you want to save into the database. So write the first name equal to $post first name, $post, and it is coming from here. So write first name, and just copy these things again. And this is for last name, and this is email, and this is for phone. So we'll change into this also. So just write phone and email and last name. Okay, so the first name is first name, and the last name equal to the variable, that is we need to concat. So as it is the PHP tag, so write here last name, and here write email equal to $email, and same like email, just write phone equal to $phone. Okay, so our query is ready. So now we need to call the set query, and finally we'll execute the query. So use the objDB, that is the object name of database, and call the set query method, that is set query, and I will pass the insert query here, and we will finally execute these things. So write objDB and then execute. Okay, so if we add some value into this, so the value will add into the database, and now after saving the value we need to redirect into the index.php. so how will it redirect? So write header and use location colon index.php. Okay, so now go to the browser and check that what happened. User suppose provide the name, that is George, and last name is Ricky, and email is George @ example.com, and phone number I'm providing some random number. Okay, so before that we will check if my query is right or not. So just go to here, and I am stopping the execute function and also the redirection function. So we will just check if my query is true or not. So right here echo insert query, and let's make it die here. Okay, and click on save. So here we can see our query is generated, that is insert into user set first name George, last name Ricky, but we don't have the comma here, so we need to write the comma here. So that's the reason we need to test before saving into the database, so that all the things will go perfect. So just write these things, and here we'll just go to this, and we know that our query is correct now. So I am adding this section, so George Ricky George example @example.com, and click on save. So here we can see the new value is added. So if you go to the database and click refresh, so one value is added into your system. So now add another, that is I am writing the name, that is Malina Keshari, and here write Malina @example.com, and write your phone number. So I am writing some random number and click on save. So Malina Keshari is added, so it's cool. So now if we go to the database, we can see these things also. So now we need to create the edit functionality. So if we click on this edit section, it should populate the value which we are going to edit. So whenever we will go to edit the John Doe, we will just pass the ID of John Doe, and if we want to edit the David Roberts, we will pass the ID for David Roberts. Basically ID is the primary key, so using the ID we can identify which record I want to edit. So now go to the editor, and here we'll just change some things into the index.php. So here I am passing the ID, that is index, that is edit.php, and just write echo, and here we'll pass the ID equal to $raise ID. Okay, so in the same way we can pass for delete also. So now just refresh the browser and click on the edit. So we are getting the value of ID, and that is 1, and for David it is 2. So if you go to the database, we can see the David 2. So using this ID we can identify which record I want to fetch. So now just go to the edit section and populate the value first. So in the edit user, so this is the edit.php, we already created that. So we are just creating as the add.php. Now we need to make it dynamic. So before that we need to populate the value. So we already have object of database, so now we need to use this. So write the PHP code here, so add the PHP syntax, and in the same like, so we'll get the ID from the get. So first take the get, so $id equal to $get and ID. Okay, and here just use this. So write here the query, so same like index, but we'll call the select one method to fetch the particular one record. So write here select one. So we are created in different select one method to fetch only one record. Okay, so we are just using this select one, and we will pass the ID here so that we can get a record for only one user. So write here where ID equal to $id. So now if we print the result what happened. So right here print our result. Okay, so now just refresh this, we can see the record for John, and if we click on the David we will get record for David, and for edit we will getting Alberto for 3. Okay, so in this way we will get all the records individually which I want to edit. So just add this here. So right here value PHP echo the result, and you can see the result is coming from this. So result first name, so first name, and in the same way just write for every case. So here write the value equal to this, and for email value equal to this, and for phone also paste these things. Okay, and change the value, that is the last name and email here and phone here. Okay, so now I am stopping the printer section. So now just go to the refresh. So here we can see the exactly same data is populating which are inside the database, and we need to update these things. So before that, as it is we are editing, so we are taking another field, that is hidden field, input type hidden field, and here I am setting the name equal to ID. So here I will just pass the ID, and we'll take this from same method. So inside the value just echo $result and ID. Okay, so now we are calling the same save.php. So inside the save.php we'll just add a new condition. So write if is set $id. So here I will write a $id is the post value. So just write here id, and here change this. So write here id. So if is a $id or sorry and not empty $id, so this will be update, otherwise it will add as it is. Okay, so just change here. So here we will write the update logic. So if the id is found, that means we are going to edit, so we are updating this, otherwise we will just insert this. Okay, so to update we will just use the same things, but we'll change the query. So write this here, this is for update, and we'll change the query as per our update. So write here update users, set first name, last name, email, phone, and we need to create a condition, that is where the id equal to $id. So we'll pass these things, that is $id, and this will update the user database. Okay, and finally we are redirecting from outside of this block, so we'll redirect automatically. Okay, so just go to the browser and check what happens. So it is John Doe. I am changing the name, that is John 1 Doe. So this is updating. So if you go to the database, we can see the John 1 Doe. So very simple code, just create your own database class and play with the code. Okay, so just save, and it is David Roberts. Okay, so within the same things we are doing these things, but here the one thing is missing, that is what is missing. So we are editing or updating some things, that is John, and click on the save, but we have not seen any message. So I want a success message to display. So how we can do this? So what can I do? We can set a message from the save.php while we saving. So here we are creating a session variable, that is $session, and here just write the variable, that is success message. So right here success message, so success message. So if you add anything, that is success message, and write data updated. Okay, and the same things we will write in this, and here we will write the data inserted. Okay, and we need to take these things from the index.php, so where we are redirecting, so inside the index.php, so just after the container, so just write a logic, that is php tag open, and here write if $session, and the session message is success message, so this is the session variable. If the session message is exist, that means if is set the session message and not empty success message, then we will print the success message, otherwise it will not print anything. So just write echo the success message, and after displaying the message we will just removing the success message, so just make it blank, so it will not print anything. And here we will add the h2 tag to display, so write here h2, and here also close the h2 tag, so write h2, and as it is a php code we need to encapsulate with the php tag. Okay, so all are set. So now just go to the browser again and edit, so John 1 Dewey, so click on save. So the message is not displaying, so why not displaying? So we are using the session but we have not started the session, so we'll start the session inside any common file. So inside the config we'll just starting the session, so that every page will get the session. So write here session and start, so write here session and start. Okay, so now if we going to edit these things, that is John space 123 and click on save, so data updated. Now I need to make it the green, so the success message is green, is very beautiful. So right here the style, so style equal to color green. Okay, so now add this again 1 2 3 4 and save, so data added. So if we add anything, support any demo user, and write here demo @example.com, and phone number, suppose random numbers, and click on save, so data inserted, so we can see the message, so it's very beautiful. And the remaining part is the delete. So how we can delete this? So you can use JavaScript to delete. So when you click on the delete, that will pop up, are you want to sure you want to delete or anything, so you want to message, means just a confirm message. But here I am just deleting these things, so whenever we will click on these things it will delete. So how you can delete? So just create a link like edit, so just go to the index.php, and same like we will create a link, so instead of edit.php we will call the save.php directly, and we will pass another parameter, that is action. So I am going to delete, so write the action name is delete, so we will get these things in the get method. Okay, so I am passing the delete and the deleted id, so just check this, so just check this. So if you mouse over these things, so in the below left corner you can see the action is delete and id equal to 1, and if you change the action is delete id equal to 2. So in this way we can identify which record I want to delete. Okay, so just add a condition into the save.php, so right here, so this is the save block, so just write here if dollar get action equal to delete and not empty dollar get id, then we will delete. Okay, so just write here the delete query. So I am taking one things, that is dollar delete value equal to delete id. So I am taking this, so I will just change the query. So right here the delete query, so I am just naming this thing's name and write the condition to delete. So I need to create a query for delete, so just removing this and write delete from users. We will write a condition where id equal to this id, so the id is the deleted value. Okay, and same like we will redirect these things and we'll add a success message. So here write these things and header location index.php. okay, so now data deleted. Okay, so if we go to the browser and refresh this, now we can see there is 6 records. So now I want to delete some records, so I want to delete the George Ricky. So click on the delete and data deleted. So if you go to the database, we can see the 4 records is deleted. Okay, so that is all about the CRUD application using the advanced PHP concept. Hope you will like that, and if you have any queries about this video, please comment in the below comment section. So next day I am going to think about if we create any login application, what will be. So I am thinking next day I will create a login application. So there will be a registration options and login option, and after the login they can view some records. Okay, so that will be helpful to all of you. So please like and subscribe this channel for upcoming video. So thanks for watching this video. Have a good day. Bye.